Good morning or good afternoon, no matter where you are at in the world. Happy Thursday, everybody, or Friday for my BFF Nick here. We're going to give everybody a couple of minutes, 3, 4 minutes to join us on this webinar. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it. Should have a good conversation today. Our webinars are pretty just kind of sitting around the bar, sharing a drink, talking about some software, sort of what the journey looks like, what the space looks like, how we can help y'all navigate those things better. So we should have some really good conversations today on what actually AI is and what it is not, and the difference in that and workflows and some other things. So we are going to leave the chat open. Also, if you have any questions at all, please make sure that you're dropping those anybody in there. Where's everybody joining us from today? I am actually in Tampa. I drove back from Orlando this morning. So if you can drop in where you're at, we got Massachusetts. I've got some Rochester, Milwaukee, Colorado, another Mass. Nick, where in
From
Australia are you
right
at?
now in the place. So a place called Wollongong, an hour south of Sydney. So it's certainly not Tampa or Milwaukee, Colorado, Nebraska. Right.
Jason, not too far from me over in West Palm. We'll give everybody 1 or 2 more minutes to join in. Up, Port St. Lucie.
So what is the time over there, Brooke? It is midday, right?
It is noon East Coast time. I'm on East Coast today. I was in Orlando yesterday. Earlier this week, I had an event there, MSP Summit. And then last week, I was in Kelowna, Canada, for an event up there, Can IT Con. So, and then Monday, I'm leaving to go to London. So I'm always on the move. So that's why I always have people drop in the chat where they're at because mine changes pretty frequently. So I never knew who I might be close to that I can go grab some lunch or coffee or a drink with. So I always want to know where everybody's coming from.
Frequent flyers. Look at that, Brooke. Well, I'll actually be in Houston next week. I'm going out there. I'm making the
Andrew's
trek.
over in McKinney, H-Town.
H-Town, first time. First time in Texas.
Are y'all doing that event at the Ion? Nick, do you know?
Not sure. Good question.
Okay.
Not sure.
For anybody on the call, Liongard, our headquarters is in Houston, and we're out of a building called the Ion, which is a pretty cool place. We did our RoarCon event there this year. It has like a cool like brew pub in there, and it's got a bunch of shops and different things. It's a very funky co-working space, but I really, really like it. It's just kind of, and it's in a really cool part of Houston, so it's very walkable. So if you ever have an opportunity, definitely go knock on the door, say hey to the guys at Liongard, or if you're going to be there next week, go say hey to Nick. We're bringing him all the way over from Australia.
I
He's got a
just
super long flight.
I just do what I'm told, Brooke. Go to Houston?
Yeah,
Sure. Is it
yeah,
Ion?
yeah.
Yes. No. Who knows? Who knows where I end up? There. I heard something about NASA. Sure. All right. Be there.
All righty. It's about 2 after, and I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are doing a webinar series. I do one a month with various vendors in the space, regardless of whether or not they're integrated with Liongard, to just have some very real conversations about things that are happening in the space, in the channel, in the MSP space, in the tech space, kind of anything and everything in between. It's super collaborative, so definitely drop your questions in. I've got Danielle from Lion Guard kind of manning the back end, so she'll stop us if somebody has a question. Again, let's talk things through. This is not going to be a death by PowerPoint by any stretch. So if you've got any comments, questions, or just want to have us pump the brakes and explain something, or just let's take it down a different path, we are 1000% fine with that. We again, chat's open, Q&A is open. We are recording this. So for everybody that attended the session, we will send you the recording when we are done in about 24, 48 hours. And then at the end, we're going to have some QR codes for you guys so that you'll have access to some of our resources, both at PIA and at Liongard. So we'll have all that stuff for you guys there. So I am going to get this party started and share my screen.
Wait, Brooke, you're recording this? That wasn't part of the deal.
Yes, sir. We are being recorded. So you got to watch what you say. All righty. Okie doke. So Today we are talking about real AI strategies for MSP. My name is Brooke. I am the Vice President of Channel Community here at Liongard. So what I do is I am an ex-MSP person. I spent about 10 years in an MSP in Savannah, and then I did a lot of consulting, rebuilt MSPs all over North America, from five-man shops up to about 150. And then my very first job in the channel about 2.5 years ago was with Pia and Nick and his team. So Nick and I go way back. That was my first job in the channel. Really got to know those guys, still friends with them. So we sort of have a really cool opportunity today because I have a lot of information about Pia that Nick and I are going to be able to talk about and really bring things forward. So without further ado, this is Nick Ferraro. He is the CRO of Pia. So Nick, give him a little background and let's get this going.
Thank you, Brooke. So, yes, as Brooke has said, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer over here at PIA. It's actually the founding Chief Operating Officer here. When we were developed within a managed service provider within Australia called Virtual IT Group. So, my background, effectively, I talk about I've led two lives or two careers. A lot of that has been in enterprise, working for the largest incumbent in Australia, working for O2 out of the UK, Alcatel, and a number of other telcos. Then went over to work for a small managed service provider, which became one of the largest mid-market managed service providers within the APAC region. Developed PA in-house, and voila, fast forward 6 odd years, and here we are today.
So VITG was y'all sort of like parent company. So how big is VITG now?
VITG now is about 300 employees, right? About six offices, six or seven offices across the country in most capital cities. Um, as an organization, 40,000 endpoints under management. So previously it was parent company, but that evolved very quickly and we spun out in 2022 from memory. So we've been independent for about 3 odd years. Developed in-house, but now fully spun out as our own independent organization.
So for anybody that questions the growth of Pia, again, that is what happened, and that's sort of where it came from, is having that MSP basically develop this and then have them grow exponentially over a number of years. So again, you've got some cool people on the call today, so we're hoping that we're going to be able to answer some questions for y'all. We got
Uh,
somebody in the
and that's a
chat.
massive, and that's a massive thing, Brooke. So when we talk about being born out of an MSP for MSP, it was born out of a real world problem. So we had acquired about 14 businesses over the course of about 3 years, and we were looking at a way to scale, and hence where PIA came to be.
Absolutely. So this is kind of where I want to start the conversation today, because this is sort of it's a water cooler thing, it's a lobby bar thing at the events and stuff we go to. And there is a big difference, I will tell everybody in this room, between AI and automation. It is two very, very different things. There is true AI, and then there is automation slash workflows. So, Nick, I really want you to dive in on this one because this is something that we talked a ton about when we were at PIA together, and we still talk about it today.
One of my favorite topics in the world. So you rewind back, we're talking about our phone scope. Rewind back about 3 years. This is pre-chat GPT, pre-OpenAI, pre any LLMs or anything of that nature. We were trying to find, as an organization, where we sat in the overall scheme of things. I remember speaking to Gartner and talking about, well, are we hyper automation? Are we AI? Are we RPA? Are we purely just automation? Are we workflow? These are genuine conversations that were had. Then the rhetoric changed as soon as ChatGPT came. So we were no longer convincing people that we were AI and automation. And to speak about the actual category itself, we were starting to talk about, okay, we are AI-led automation. All that to say, there is a massive difference. We've gone from a world 3, 4 years ago where everything was cobbled into one to now seeing the true difference between them. And if you take a step back and look, enterprise is often seen as the pallbearer as relates to SMB. So things filter down, things happen in enterprise and they come down. You look at some of the major players around RPA, they are workflow management. Is that true automation? It isn't the case. So workflow or RPA is creating scripts, probably no different to what probably some have done on the call today. So where you create your own PowerShell script, you're developing that, you're having to maintain that. An employee leaves, and you say, what happens to that? How do we maintain it? It's costly. And it is purely that. It is creating workflows. So I challenge anyone to go to any website, any SaaS company, and everyone says that they are AI. But look underneath the hood and you see what true AI is versus automation, whether it's something that comes straight out of the box, whether it's just a platform to create said workflows. That's a big monumental difference. So RPA is rules based. Workflows are rules based. Workflows require you to develop. There's no rhetoric around straight out of the box, having where there's no assembly required. That's where true automation exists. And Brooke, I speak about the time that whole 3 year period because I do think that uh, it's a double edged sword. First of all, the market is a lot more educated around requiring automation, efficiencies, and productivity that comes as a result. But what is less intrinsically known is exactly what is true AI and automation. So, hence the topic today that you've brought to me. I do think it is quite simple in theory and in practice. So what
Absolutely.
is AI?
Completely agree. And I, because you were very well explained the difference, because again, this is something that we had to talk a lot about when we were at PS, is because people were not really sure the difference in AI and what is the difference between that and automation. And I do think that you need a little of both. There are automations that you need, like on the back end of your PSA, just to make your ticket flow go well. There are things that you can automate, like part of what we do at Liongard is we can automate documentation. I can automatically update your documentation platform, automatically suck that stuff in. You still need those types of automations, but if you're going to solve problems efficiently and effectively, you need something that thinks and is not just operating off and if or statements. And to me, that's where I think the big difference is. And there's multiple different types of AI. But to your point, I really think you have to ask what's under the hood. What is it that's operating on the back end of this particular solution that you're trying to sell me? And I'm at an event at least once a week. So the people that are popping up, these new software vendors that are like, oh, we've got AI for MSPs, I've got AI for this, I've got AI for that. So my first questions are, tell me about your AI. How does it exactly work? And if they're really cagey and they're responsive, then I kind of lean towards more. Maybe it's not really the AI that they're selling. I think a lot, like, to your point also is people are more educated on AI now because it again it's just so like it's to the forefront every single day in every single thing that we do, and that is just it's just changed dramatically in the last heck the 2.5 years that I've been in the channel space from where we started to where we are now and the options that are available to MSPs. But I always think you need to ask some of the vendors that are again offering AI solutions, how does that really work on the back end?
And Brooke, I'm going to provide something of a controversial view. So it's often difficult to get out of the weeds. We operate in an environment where it's around technology, we have engineers, developers, and the like, which means that our view is somewhat muddied. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you go to a law firm or an accounting firm, some of the other essential services that help support businesses, right? So they support services. If you look at any SMB or mid-market, large-scale organization, they require accounting services. They require legal services. They require IT services. Because we operate in a technical industry, you have a lot of people who then mix the technology. Now, what I mean by that is this: do you think that in a legal organization, they're going to want to create workflows? They're not going to want to create workflows. They're going to want an AI platform that's going to allow them to do rudimentary tasks, mundane tasks. They're going to seek efficiencies from that around their staffing and right. Because we operate in an IT industry, it's often muddied. A lot of people like to get on the tools. They like to operate. They like to create things themselves, which is all well and good. But then that's where the water is muddied, right? Because between business outcomes and actually operating on the tools. So hence why, probably in this industry more than most, this becomes a question. So I challenge the fact that in an accounting firm, would you be asking what's true AI versus automation? And I'd say no, and hence the controversial view, because they would want something that is plug and play straight out of the box. But often with us, we struggle because of the fires that are there constantly within the IT industry to actually lift our heads away from the tools, and hence why that the water is muddied.
And then also another thing that people don't think often enough about is when you're getting ready to implement these tools, whether it's an automation tool, whether it's an AI tool, whatever it is that you're going to put in place at your MSP, I think one of the points on this slide, it says, does it actually reduce the cost? Because that's something I want to talk about with you this morning, because you and I, we have similar opinions on this, because there's a cost to every tool that you put in place, more than just the actual of whatever you're paying the bill at the end of the month for that piece of software. There's a cost of people. So I think there's like that balance of, are you more efficient? And I'm going to be able to save time and money on labor. But what is the cost on the back end? Is it really going to come out in the wash if I have to give a guy or girl to manage this platform 8 hours a day? And some of the tools that are out there, that is what they require in order to get them lifted up off the ground. And I've worked with very few MSPs that have that type of headcount where they can dedicate a single person to manage one tool in their stack solely. So again, does it make your people more efficient? Maybe. Are you going to be able to save on labor? But if I'm turning right back around and giving that labor back in, it's like a really high level knock or RMM guy that may not be that cheap. And now I've lost them for anything other than I've got to deal with this one particular like solution to manage it, maintain it, monitor all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Brooke, we operate in an industry where we run on razor thin margins.
Oh yeah.
So the average MSP is on 6 to 8% EBITDA. A good performing MSP is looking at 10, 12%. There are very, very few that are operating at 20% plus. So let's use the example that I just provided around, say, accounting firms or law firms. You're looking at minimum 20% margin, usually up to a 40% margin. That's because it's intensive. As in MSPs, it's intensive around people and resourcing. So, we've heard the narrative from some of the major vendors talking about the changing the unit economics or doing more with less. And that's really at the center of automation and the potential outcome. So to your point around, okay, can you afford to hire somebody to run a platform? It's to me, it seems crazy. At a time that we are
Same.
talking about efficiency and productivity and doing more with less or changing unit economics, the fact that it's even within a conversation to say, hey, how about we hire somebody to manage said platform so that we can do more stuff? That goes against the grain of, okay, if I want to scale as an organization, then I want to be able to do more with less by maintaining the status quo, maintaining my best people, growing, and doing so without adding cost. So and that's a crazy difference there. Go back to the example around creating, maintaining. This is heavy work. It's heavy work that needs to be done to build, to maintain. Where you look at true AI, or true AI that allows you to actually create something and scale, that is where you need to be as an organization, especially considering the razor thin margins that we're used to. Look, let's talk specific output. All right. MSPs and their endpoint to technician ratio, right? If you, again, on average, 100 to 150 endpoints to an engineer. If you're getting to 200, 250, that's where you're moving the needle as an organization. So then by adding cost, by adding people who manage platforms, that's not going to get you there. So that there is a differentiator unto itself.
Absolutely. And best in class, by the way, is like, I think it's a little north of 300 endpoints per technician that you have working on those. So to get to that point, you will have to have some sort of automation or AI. I have not seen, and I've worked with a lot of MSPs that are plus 300 per technician, but they are heavy automation. They are heavy AI because they can't achieve that as well. And then also we have a couple slides other that we're going to talk about it about working together. So we'll get to that one. But part of it is how do you find what works for you? So to Nick's point, to talk about these solutions, what does it take to manage, monitor, and maintain it? So when you're talking to a software vendor, you've gone to Kaseya Vegas, you're going to IT Nation London, you're going to DattoCon APAC, wherever it is that you're going to go to an event and you're going to check out some of the new software vendors that are out there. You go with your list of what it is that you're trying to look for. And part of our job is at these events is to really showcase what it is that our software platform can do. But you really have to do your due diligence. And it's about more than just talking to that software vendor. Ask them, what does the onboarding look like? What is it going to cost for me labor wise to be able to maintain this on my end? What do y'all do? And what am I responsible for? Ask those questions. And then you need to ask for references. Always, always, always ask for references. Go find people that are already using that solution and talk to them, because that is the actual MSP that is using this platform or this solution, and get firsthand information from them. Talk to your peers. This is why it's so important to have peer groups, whether they're online, whether they're in person, whether it's in Reddit, whether it's at one of the Slack channels. Go talk to other people that use those solutions again so that you can get a really good picture of what it's going to take. Just again, more than paying the monthly bill, but what is it going to take for you to do those things? So we've been talking a lot about people and what we're going to get back labor wise. But there's definitely, I think, you have to have a balance of what AI is going to do and what your people are going to do. And I think that there always has to be sort of a check and balance system. One person said to me one time is you can't have the prisoners checking the bars. So you can't have the AI or the solution checking themselves. Somebody needs to check those things. And sometimes it needs to be human judgment or having context around a particular an issue or something that's going on. And also it's making sure that you have a holistic view of everything, because your AI solution or your tool or whatever you have, you need to make sure, is it looking at everything? Or is the focus super narrow? Has something happened, something changed, and that solution is not looking at like the total view of all of our clients, if that's the thing that we're doing. So I think there definitely has to be a balance between the AI and the
Mhm.
automation and the actual people at the MSP.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And ultimately, humans are the ones that create value, right? No matter how you look at it, you have the internal facing, i.e., creating efficiencies, productivity that goes to your bottom line that allows you to operate as an organization. There's within a restaurant, sure, there's the wonderful meals that you can create. However, to keep the actual doors open of that restaurant, you need to make sure that all of your processes are in place. So, to use another example, um, yeah, a big thing here is around freeing up your humans to actually create that value, relationships, strategy, problem solving. That's always going to come down to humans. All right, and sure, we can argue, and no one has the answers, whether that be Microsoft or some of the other large organizations. They don't have the answers as to what AI will hold in future. But ultimately, look, MSPs. I've always had this view, and some of my background does come from marketing, strategy, partnerships, and the like. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, MSPs are often seen as a commodity, something that you need to have. All right. So whether it be like banking, whether it be like insurance, it's something that sometimes the less you hear, the better, because you know things are just working in the background. So ultimately, you ask, what is your point of difference? What's your differentiator? And that comes down to service. It comes down to continuity. It comes down to the relationships that you have with your end clients. So that's why that element is never going to leave. So humans need to be there. They're going to have overview. They're going to have oversight. And in fact, the biggest thing that we have seen around this human and value add has been freeing up people internally to be able to focus on value generating activities. And that takes a couple of different directions. So, first of all, is value add to the business in terms of increased revenue. So, think about freeing up some of your engineers to work alongside your customer success team or your sales team to be able to talk about the cybersecurity products or that backup and data recovery product, right? That is powerful. So, having run the organization, a virtual IT group that looked at uh, success, sales, marketing, I know that having those technical resources free to add value around upsell and cross sell is priceless. And I
Absolutely.
often
And
say,
it's when you're doing projects and stuff. I mean, I have to have people to work on my projects. And I always tell people when I consult, projects are gravy money. This is just extra money coming in the door, but you have to have the people to be able to do that. And I also tell you, part of this is I call it it's employee happiness. I did not get into IT to reset passwords all day long every single day. I did not get into IT to set up users all day long every single day, or to fix some lady's printer problem, or the email forwarding is not working and things like that. Again, they are things that have to be done. That's why I have a job at the MSP. That's why the MSP has a job, because these are things that they can't do themselves and we need to help them fix. But how can I use AI and automation to do those things for me so that I can do what I call the fun stuff? Because again, none of us got into this to reset passwords all day long. We want to do more things. And if you want to free up that time, I tell people you never know where the next big idea for your MSP is going to come from. But if you don't give people the time and headspace to do that, they're not going to be able to be creative and come up with the next cool thing that your MSP might be able to do. Also, I'm a big person that's big on training. Um,
mm,
I love for my engineers to get training, but again, it's about freeing up that time. How do I give them the time to say, hey, this was the plan that I gave y'all in January. In January, we sit down. This is your career path for this year. These are the things that we need to do. You need to complete these courses. Like if I'm the MSP, if I'm the service manager of the MSP, I'm like, hey, somebody, Bobby, you need to work with Nick. You need to shadow him on a couple 365 migrations this year because you need to get better at that. That's your next step to get from tier one to tier two. And all that seems so well and good in January. But unless I give that person actual time to do those things, they're not going to be able to accomplish their goals. And then again, now they're feeling defeated. I don't ever get any time to do anything. I can't go hang out with Nick to do the shadowing on the projects. I can't go like join maybe the AI, the automation team that's really coming up with some cool stuff that we're going to do because I just can't give them the time back. And so the part of it is how do I save money on labor? Yes, this is going to allow me to do things more efficiently, more effectively. But I think definitely the people factor comes back into play because how do I leverage these tools to just make my employees happier? Because turnover and churn is a real thing at an
Yeah.
MSP. And if you have to hire a new employee, it is anywhere from 6 to 9 months before that person's earning their salary full time. The full time that it takes for them to be able to earn everything that it costs for me to have that employee. And the last thing I want to do is have a tier one engineer who has the drive, he has the attitude and aptitude, he wants to go to the next level, but I can't give him any time to breathe because all he's doing is resetting passwords and creating new users. That guy's going to leave in a year and a half and he's going to go to the MSP across town and he's going to show up and he's going to be a tier two, which is what he was looking for anyway. So I think it's definitely more than just the labor cost. It's the people savings that you can get by using these tools in a smarter fashion.
And Brooke, that's one of the surprise benefits that we've seen, that exact scenario. So you've been a consultant, you've seen it. How many times have you met some absolute gun or absolute weapon, level one engineers or even level two engineers? They want to continue to climb the ladder through the organization. And that might be a small MSP, doesn't matter whether it's a 5 or 10 person shop, but they want to continue to be educated to go on. However, as a director, as a managing director, as an owner, as a CEO or whatnot, this is what I often view as a double-edged sword. And I've said this phrase a couple of times because, like, yeah, great. That's awesome that you want to be that level two, level three, you want to work on projects. That is really great. But I really need you solving passwords, password tickets. I
I
really
know.
need you doing onboardings and user terminations.
Because it still has to get done at the end of the day. That's what our
That's,
clients pay us for. But how can we be smarter about it?
mm. Yeah. And unfortunately for us, we're in an industry where the fires are never going to stop. You know, I think we all like to think that, hey, you know what, we're going to walk into that office one day, or somebody running an MSP is going to walk into an office, and you know what, there's going to be no tickets on that board, everything's going to be great, and that backlog of projects is just going to be solved. How many times have you heard? Another question. Yes, we're going to go out, we're going to chase professional services, or we have a whole bunch of cash or money for jam that is just sitting there, but hell, they're going to be pushed out weeks, even months. So suddenly you have clients who are upset. They're not getting their value for money or the way that they perceive it. They're getting upset. They're starting to churn, and round we go again.
Completely agree because I think part of it is keeping your clients happy as well. So one of the biggest things that I saw uh, when I was working at MSPs. So basically, what I would do is I would come in, evaluate an MSP, see what's working, what's not, what's working, push it off to the side. What's not working, those are the things obviously that I'm going to fix first. Unfortunately, a lot of times that meant that I needed to let people go. So when I would let somebody go, I would need to backfill that job, whether it's a tier one, the cable guy, the field tech, the whatever. So when we're doing projects, one of my favorite things is I love doing new client onboardings. They're a super fun thing. I love being able to meet the new client that you have. It's a great opportunity. But the thing that bit us in the butt every single time was documentation and automating the things that nobody wanted to do. So when you
No,
can't get that done, I
no.
know, right? What? Because none of the boys, A, want to do the documentation. But being able to use AI or automation, again, it's one of the things that one of our hallmark things that we're known for here at Liongard is because you have to get something that automates all the time. Because what happens is that documentation, I call it kick the can, they kick that ticket down the road. So we're not updating the documentation during the new client onboarding. And then on my go live day, it's the documentation is not updated. So this poor kid on the help desk, the tier one, is getting phone call after phone call. They're going into IT Glue, Hoodoo, SharePoint, whatever it is, to go get the documentation to solve this ticket. And guess what? We don't have that stuff documented. So then it becomes a problem because I don't have that stuff updated automatically and we wait until the end. So now my client, my brand new client that I'm rolling out the red carpet for is upset because we can't solve the tickets. My engineers were upset because we did not give them the information that they needed to be able to solve the tickets. And now already my project budget blown, not making money on it. I'm just hoping and praying that I can break even.
Yeah, so for me, this humans and AI working together is a non-starter. And I think we've gone at length to explain as to why you always need that human element. And the value add, whether it be to the actual client, whether it be to the organization, is always going to be there. Trust me, there's never going to be that human time that isn't required. You look back through history at any given time where there's been a big scary notion around changing things to be more process driven, whether it be Ford, whether it be Toyota in Japan, whether it be industrialization, it doesn't matter. There's always a human element that is required, and especially within our industry, right, where you're freeing up your staff to actually focus on that value-add activity, or actually stay on the phone for that little bit longer to be able to ensure that everything is done, to do documentation, right, where it's actually required as part of a actual client onboarding, spending the time with them, change culture. There is a whole bunch of stuff that us as MSPs, we do not look at, we do not do. We make it, we put it on the back burner, it doesn't get done, and we set ourselves up for failure. Right. So that human element is always going to be there. Now, automation actually frees up the humans to actually do the human stuff. Right. So the fact that we can automate a lot of these mundane stuff, are we really adding value by doing password resets? Are we really adding value by doing new user onboarding at the human side of it, that is? No. So why would you not push that toward automation and then spend the rest of the time with that actual value add? And one other point that this raises is around uh, probably probably a bit of a surprise factor is consistency. Humans are always going
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah,
make
yeah.
errors.
And I tell people it's
So
not intentional. It's not intentional.
no,
When I've got a ticket that comes in for a new user setup, the guys or girls on the help desk, they're not like intentionally forgetting to put MFA on. They're not intentionally forgetting to add that particular printer that goes with the accounting department that's on the second floor. It's just at an MSP, we get busy. Things are coming
mhm,
in, people are moving around, you're trying to read your emails, you're trying to do whatever. So yeah, the consistency piece, that's something that we haven't talked about today, and it was not on our slide deck, but I think
mhm,
100% that is a huge issue.
yep,
And I will tell you that's also like the kiss of death at an MSP because I had a client that I worked with in the Midwest in Minnesota. And I was consulting with them. I had just come on, and it wasn't their biggest client, but I would say probably like top five, top seven. They fired this MSP because they had messed up another new user setup. And it was very
mhm,
simple. It was the printer. They forgot to put the printer on that goes with this particular department, whatever it is. And the lady that it happened to, she was the person they didn't really have like an HR department. She had put in the ticket, blah, blah, blah. And consistently, they could not get those new user setups right. And again, you think that it's so simple, it's so easy. I tell people I write great SOPs, but I still need somebody to follow them. And they forgot
yep.
to install the printer. And that was literally the last straw. And they got fired by this client because they could not get the new user setup done consistently the right way every single time the first time.
Yep. Now, I speak to hundreds of MSPs, and I literally mean that hundreds of MSPs month on month. And it's a given, right? We are human. We're going to make errors.
Absolutely.
The problem is within this industry is that those errors can be massive errors. You just mentioned one. Suddenly you haven't set up a printer. Think about releasing wrong information, or think about a CEO
It
not,
seems
not
so
being able to
small
log
until you
into
get
their portal.
fired.
Exactly. Then you get fired. And and, and look, tongue in cheek, the fact that the matter is that it takes 12 to 18 months for an MSP to win a new client, right? It's traditionally one of the hardest industries to win a new client because you're rusted on. So think about that small error suddenly means that you're chasing another client to plug that hole for 12 to 18 months. That is a killer. That is a killer for MSPs. So the benefits are multiple, right? So if you can cover that by actually having automation do a lot of that work, making sure that there's consistency, making sure that the errors are reduced greatly. For me, it's a win-win.
So we have a question in our Q&A. Somebody says, so tell me about your AI. How does it really work? So I can give you sort of the behind the scenes here a little bit at Liongard. Obviously, part of our AI stuff is proprietary, so I can't give you all the secret sauce. Our AI solution, we just launched that, I would say, in the last 2 to 3 months. We have Liongard IQ. We've got some other different options. But one of the coolest things that we have is we now have something that's called like global search. So for us specifically, Anybody that has the Liongard platform, they log into it, they can type in a question in natural language, and then the AI bot, Leo, in Liongard will be able to give you a real world answer on what's going on. So one of my favorite things on it is I use the network down as an example. So we have a timeline. There's a little yellow delta. It says something happened with client X's firewall last night. The engineer is going to be able to click on that, ask the question. The AI has come back, and now he or she will tell you, hey, this is what this firewall does. This is what's going on right now. These are the potential issues that you could see, and these are some of the things that you can do to solve it. And it literally bases that on what the engineer is asking. So a tier one asking our solution for an answer, the answer that that person gets is going to be very different than what a tier three answer is going to be when the tier three asks a different type of question. And I love that for two reasons. Because this next slide, I'm big on education and learning everywhere that you work. People need to be learning all the time. And a tier one, being able to get an answer from AI that's accurate and true so that they can learn more and be educated more so that they understand sort of how does that, because tier ones, they don't know what they don't know. It's not their fault. They're just brand new to the space. So if we can use AI to help them learn more while they're solving tickets, while they're working through the issues, to me, that's sort of the true piece of how it works. It's built on the back end. So again, we built that out ourselves. Probably, I would say north of 80% of our staff are developers here at Liongard. So we've invested in those people to be able to develop the platform and the AI piece as well. And then Nick, you can talk about the PIA pieces, how it works there for
Lovely,
y'all.
lovely. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, look, for us, we also have proprietary AI that we use. So here we integrate into the PSA. So we're agnostic. So whether that be Kaseya, ConnectWise, Halo. And effectively, a ticket comes in, and we'll have a QR code at the end of this where you can actually sign up for a demo. So a ticket comes in, we have AI triage, which detects what that ticket is. Chatbot pops up, which is interface into our automation platform and says, this looks like new user onboarding, user termination, a password reset. Is that the case? Then it's a case of follow the bouncing ball. So within that chatbot, within your PSA, so you're not changing your way of doing things, you're living still within your PSA. Uh, you're effectively able to do everything there. Follow the bouncing ball. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes. So because of the original configuration for your client, he knows all of the rules. Stuff such as procurement of your Microsoft 365 license is all done within that one screen. So hence why you have that continuity, consistency. You're not bouncing into multiple screens. The AI reads the ticket, understands the ticket, follow the bouncing ball. It completes the ticket fully end to end. Now that's what we call engineer assist mode. So all the PowerShell scripting and our proprietary software in the back end is completing that ticket with the assistance of an engineer sitting there, whom can also be somebody who is non-technical, and that's also part of our magic sauce. So keep in mind, because it is follow the bouncing ball, you do not even need a level one engineer. We have a lot of our partners, as we call them, MSPs, who have hired ex-retail employees, ex-hospitality employees, who are completing 30 tickets per day. So that moves from the average of 8 to 12 tickets per day that most MSPs see from their level one to engineers through to 30 plus tickets per day. So just think about that. Lower cost one, a lower cost person sitting at a service desk completing user onboarding, user termination. So that's one part of it. The second part is what we call PR smart forms. So that's a client that sits with your actual end client. It's a form, and that can be branded as the MSP. We also integrate into the likes of Cloud Radio, where the client logs in. They say, "Yep, password reset, printer setup, etc., etc." That then comes into the actual PSA, raises a ticket, completes the action, closes the ticket, shoots the result back out to the client without any engineer requirement whatsoever. So just think about that one. Think about the fact that that ticket has been completed end to end. It's been engaged by the actual end client themselves without any interaction from the engineer or the MSP whatsoever. So we have about 60 automations that come straight out of the box. So again, this is not your IKEA table, get it, here's the instructions, set it up, and then having to call over your mum, your dad, your brother in order to help you, and then maintaining that. It is literally out of the box. There's an onboarding process where we have a partner success manager, we have an onboarding engineer, we have a project manager that sits with you during that onboarding process. So what we conduct is what we call white glove. And then that gets you up and running. You put on a peer champion, And keep in mind, as I just said, that they don't even have to be technical by nature. And so that's it, right? And so that's our magic sauce. The fact that we are end to end ticket completion, we are true automation in every aspect of the word.
And then I want everybody that's on this call to think about what he just said, because what Nick is describing, and again, I have a little more information with Pia than I do a lot of the people that I bring on the webinars here because I worked for that company. It is a blend of both worlds. So there is some automation on it, but the actual AI, that is where in the engineer assist mode, where you're having a conversation with AI and the AI is saying, hey, do you want me to do this or this? This is kind of what I'm seeing. And then you respond back as the engineer. So I love that you have, the options to do both, which I think is really important. Again, getting sort of the true AI. And we had a comment from Justin. He said, hey, can confirm one of our clients is constantly having to remind us to install specific printer software during the onboarding. We try to document everything they need, but it always seems like that you're missing something small. And again, it's small until it's something that they need. And we have to sometimes take a step back when we're doing these new user setups because they seem just like so vanilla bean, so everyday. But if you have a new person that's showing up, we're going to use Nick's accounting firm as the example. She's a brand new person that's coming to work. She sits down. She's so excited to be at accounting firm ABC. She logs into her computer. She doesn't have the printer. She's missing one of her accounting applications. It wasn't installed on her desktop. So she's got to go talk to somebody else. So, us, the MSP, we have impacted this person's first day. And that is the exact thing that we do not want to do. We do not want IT to affect this in any way, shape, or form. We want this person to sit down and go to work at whatever organization they're working at and not even think about us, because that's our best case scenario. Everything is just humming along and they don't think about what it is that we need to do. So that's making sure, again, to have sort of that the balance of having the human, having the automation, having the AI. And again, I can speak specifically about Pia, their new user setup. Again, it makes sure that it's consistent. Again, using a tool like Liongard, because we are integrated with Pia, we are integrated with over 90 some odd different applications. So we are very agnostic as well. We don't give up flip who it is. We'll integrate with anybody to be able to help you get that data to make your job easier, making sure that that automation, the documentation is updated. So for example, if Pia works the ticket and Pia changes something and says, hey, we need to do this, automatically it's connected to IT Glue, and Liongard will make sure that those things are updated in your documentation platform. We have a question. This was going to be for you, Nick. How do you compare to Roost?
How do we compare to Roost? Well, that is a great question. We often get compared to Roost, and this is really part and parcel of the conversation we've had today. I've seen Roost. I know people with Roost. They are a fantastic organization. I'm not here to talk down anyone who would be within this space. Right? We're all trying to do what's best for the MSP, but they are a completely different proposition. So everything I've spoken about in terms of true automation, and hopefully, I guess what I've said has landed in some way or form, where as part of the onboarding, then you have true end-to-end automation. Rooster, and this is by their own definition, and you can go to their website if need be, they are an RPA platform. So robotic process automation. They give you a great platform that you're able to log into, and then you're going to have to create these automations. I think they use stuff such as crates
Old crates. Mhm.
crates or activities and stuff. So you're going to need somebody to go in there, develop these crates, develop these automations over a period of weeks, months, etc., and then maintain it over that period as well. And often compare it to the likes of UiPath, Blue Prism, Automate Anywhere. So they're RPA platforms that exist in enterprise, multi-billion-dollar platforms that work in the largest corporates that you could imagine. Now, they give you this great platform that you're having to go in, and you're having to have a resource to create these automations and maintain it. And I've said that a couple of times, but that is a big distinction between the two. So imagine a world where you're having to create it, you need to hire a resource, whether it be professional services or hire an automation engineer full time, ongoing, to maintain this platform. Are you able to scale down the rest of your organization or scale up the business whilst maintaining your employees? You're not, because you're constantly having to build and maintain said platform. And the difference is with us, is that, or with Pia, that we are an automation platform that out of the box gives you these automations. No building, no self-assembly, it is there. You configure your clients, and as a SaaS organization, we continue to improve, we continue to do releases. So all of that is in real time. So we are a true automation platform.
And I'm going to take this question. We had a question, what level of programming is needed to make your tool fully up and running? So from Liongard's perspective, none. There is nothing involved there. We have a multi-stage onboarding process. So you get an onboarding engineer to work with you. We help you get everything connected on the back end. So whatever we're going to connect to, it's going to be an API. We're going to connect to all your tools on the back end. We're going to start pulling that data in. We have these things called metrics that we use. They're already pre-built. You don't have to do any of those things with them. They are ready to go out of the box. They are up and they're running. We're going to turn on the metrics. We're going to make everything work for you. We have Liongard University here, so we will train all of your employees as well. So you don't have to do that. If new people come on, make them come to the training. We have a Liongard University where you can get certifications. We do a monthly feature partner update. Marwa, she runs our education department. She and I run that every single month. All the partners are invited. We tell you all the new stuff. You need to stay connected with your people. So from our perspective, you need nothing to make that happen. And I'm not going to tell the other part because I know Pia as well. But Nick, what do you need do I need like a super high powered person to make Pia work for me?
No. And I'll round this out by stating the obvious here is that you do not need to program. And I'll also add a bit of a tidbit here as well. So you do not need a programmer. We are full white glove in terms of, as I mentioned, having a partner success manager, onboarding engineer, product specialist, the whole realm that we sit with you over a period of that for a few weeks, and we configure your clients and get you up and running. So there is no program required whatsoever. However, should you want to extend the automations or something bespoke, we have that capability. So I've mentioned everything around the difference between true AI and then sort of RPA or workflow management. We have the ability to build on our on-set automations that come straight out of the box and build your own workflows. And we've had multiple partners who actually do that. So are you that way inclined where you do want to tinker, or you have some really bespoke scenarios that you really want to build out something unique? Yeah, we have a whole bunch of partners that have done that. So I'll summarize that. Is there any level of program required? No, there isn't. We take a full white glove approach to your onboarding. Should you want to build on top of those 60 plus automations that come straight out of the box that cover all your level one and most of level two uh, tickets, you can, but it's certainly not a requirement. So you do not need anybody specific to come on board as a technical resource, an automation engineer, or anything in that regard
Same.
to onboard
Same.
you.
We released a part of our platform. It's called Visual Insights. So it's dashboards that we provide. They're already pre-built. There's one for your finance team. There's one for your to do your QBRs for your VCIOs. There's another one for you to have a dashboard for your account managers. We give you a ton out of the box, but same, if somebody wants to go create them, we also give you the ability to be able to do that on our platform. So it's not locked down. So if you can go make dashboards until the cows come home, you can create special dashboards. Like if you have co-managed, you can share those out. I've got a cyber risk dashboard. Again, we have things that are already pre-built in there, but if you want to go deeper, we don't gatekeep it. You're able to change your particular instance of Liongard and create anything that you want that's specialized. But we give you a ton of stuff out of the box in all the different parts and pieces that we have. One of the things that I forgot to mention is we have a lot of really cool stuff at Liongard, but one of the things that we've really put our foot on the gas is actual remediation. So for like 365, for example, I can not only let you know that something's wrong, like MFA is not on, but I can also go fix the problem, update your ticket, and then kick it back to you guys as well. I think we have another question. I couldn't see what that one was. And while Danielle's getting that for us, up on your screen now, you will see two QR codes. So there's one for Pia and there's one for Liongard. So if anything that Nick and I have talked about today, whether you want to see a demo, whether you have a question for us, whether you just want to get a little bit more information via email or whatever, please scan these QR codes. Go check it out. Again, I can't speak highly enough about the team at Pia, again, because those guys are friends of mine. I used to work there. They're wonderful people. It's a really great company. And again, one of the things I love about here at Liongard and there as well is we're all really transparent. There's like no hidden curtain.
Mhm.
There's nothing that we gatekeep. You ask us the questions, we'll go track it down. Do you want to know what our security stance is? I'll go get you the information. I'll talk to our CISO. We'll find it out. Nick's got a guy over there, Terry. you need that stuff, we'll go to Terry over at P and we'll get that information for you and we'll share it with you. Again, we don't gatekeep, or we don't say we can't tell you those things. We want to make sure that we're really transparent because we want it to be part of, we had talked
Yep.
about sort of the culture of learning as part of this is a relationship. I want to have a really good relationship with my partners at Liongard, and that's why I want to be really transparent when we're bringing somebody new on board or they're asking questions about our particular solution.
Well, Terry, so many times I ask him about HIPAA, GDPR, SOC 2, uh, or ISO 27001, all of it. So absolutely, absolutely. Here's your guy.
All right, so we have one more question, and I'm probably going to have to go to one of my engineers to get this one. So we'll have Danielle get your information. Does Liongard and Pia have automations pre-built together, or do we need to build them? And would that be done via PowerShell? So the information that I pull in via Liongard to dump into Pia, basically I'm the keeper and the gatherer of the data, and then Pia is the person that's going to act on that to be able to work within ConnectWise or AutoTask in that PSA to be able to solve those issues for you. So I'm able to get the data to them to solve the problem, but Pia is the person that's actually solving the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So in short, that is pre-built. Absolutely. We have a number of integrations across the board, and Liongard is one of our favorites.
Awesome question, though. So we are sitting, we've got about 5 minutes left. Are there any more questions that we want to answer in the chat about Pia, about Liongard, about AI in general, anything that we've covered today? Again, Nick and I have been in this game for a really long time. We've helped a ton of MSPs. So tell people there's nothing at this point that he and I, between the two of us, haven't seen or done at an MSP. I'm so happy to take any questions that we've got. Again, we've got the QR codes up there. I see some more questions coming in. We'll get Danielle to drop those in the chat for us. I'm going to stop sharing too, so we can just do that. Stop share.
We have seen a lot, haven't we, Brooke? Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but hey, we'll take it.
But I tell people that's like part of the value that you and I are able to provide in this space is, I mean, I tell people, come talk to me, tell me what your problems are. Let's see if we can work
Yeah.
through this together. Let me see if I can figure out how we can solve these problems, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else. Again, I'll help you find the right person to solve the problem. Hey Elle, how are you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Um, let's see. And then Elle put a comment in there about sort of the pre-built automations. Again,
Mhm.
onboarding and offboarding is the big one. And I know there was a couple of people that made some comments in the chat. I know it just seems like such an easy ticket to work, and it is. But as an engineer, I don't really want to. I don't want to set up new users all day long or offboard. We always have that one client who hires and fires like faster than you're eating Skittles. So we don't want to have to do those things. So how can we automate and do those better? All right. We've got a question from Sean Torres. What are good metrics to give an automation engineer? We have two of them working on Pia and AmiBot today and don't feel that we see the results on this. So Nick, I'll let you tackle that one if you want to. What metrics do we need to give to these people that are working on Pia and AmiBot?
Yeah, sure. So obviously that question I'm looking at there is around benchmarking. So I've mentioned a few of them. So look at the across the organization, the ticket to endpoint ratio, but probably even more so is around how many the ticket completions. So how about after this, Sean, reach out. Let's have a discussion around this and let's see, because this is actually probably something that isn't talked about enough, right? It's about the onboarding process or that change culture. So we refer to our MSPs as partners, and we do that on purpose. We don't see it just a fluffy word. You would know Brooke probably more than most. The fact that when you go on this journey, you need to go on it together. There's no use. It's not like a SaaS product that you just plug and play, sign up, or even so. Right? I can sign up to the likes of MailChimp, but then just because I've signed up doesn't mean I'm actually
Doesn't mean you're getting out
doing.
of it.
Right, exactly. Then suddenly, management turns around and says, "Hey, we're paying X amount on any given month. Why isn't it doing anything?" Well, quite frankly, that's just a tool. It's not the actual process to actually get there. You have to do stuff to it,
Oh,
and
so
we've seen
so
that.
Sean, to your question, what Nick and I talked about earlier is making sure you have a good relationship with your vendors. And if you don't think that you're using the tool correctly, you're not getting not enough out of it, you're not seeing the value, reach out to your account manager. I have Nick's email address, so I dropped that into the chat. So Sean, definitely email Nick. He'll get you connected to the right people. Again, if it's either of us, whether it's Liongard or whether it's Pia, do we need to do some re-education? Do we need to do a re-onboarding? Do we just need to take kind of look of kind of what it is that y'all are doing and see some missteps? because all of us, both sides of this, we have different tools that we can use to analyze your usage of our software platforms, and we can help you see those gaps. So definitely, if you feel like that you're
Yeah.
not getting what I call the most bang for your buck, reach out to your account manager. Again, if you're a PIA person, reach out to Nick and he'll get you pointed in the right direction. But definitely don't sit there paying for a tool or a solution and you don't think that you're getting what you need to get out of it. Again, raise your hand, send an email. Account management. I'm going to drop my email in here as well. Again, none of us want you to pay for something and not use it. So that's the worst thing we want you to do.
But that's regardless of PO or Liongard. You can speak it to hundreds of MSPs on, and you could get. There's so many tools that they saw. They say, "Oh, look, I'm onboarding 3 or 4 different tools at once." Well, you know that none
Yep,
of those are going to effectively be done,
they are
right? So
not.
it's all well and good to go into an event, and we've all been there, and it's shiny disco balls and fantastic, and I need it. But I do urge, if there's a takeout from me, is to take when you see a product, whether it be automation or something else, but truly embed it within your organization, right? There's so many
And don't
products.
don't onboard it yourself. MSPs are
I
bad at
don't think
that.
we were speaking about.
That is my number one takeaway from this thing. If you get nothing out of this webinar today, do not onboard these
Yeah.
software applications, the shiny disco balls that you come back with from these events. Leverage your vendors. They are the experts. Let them onboard it. Work with somebody there. Don't try to do it yourself because to Nick's point, you're trying to onboard three. None of them are going to get done correctly. You're going to be 30% here, 42% here, maybe 70 there, and then you're not getting anything out of it.
And Brooke, I could say hand on heart that 90% of the cases where an MSP has turned to us and said, like, look, I don't quite see if I'm getting the value here. We can turn that in a dime because it's due to the onboarding, because it's due to the lack of actually taking on that process probably. So, Sean, to that point, reach out, let's discuss it.
Andrew, your question about the IT glue integration. I think Abram is on this call. He's one of our account managers at Liongard. So if you don't have IT glue ProSync turned on, let's get you connected with your account manager because what that will allow you to do is it allows you to update your core assets and your flexible as well. Again, and that should take care of some of that data dump that you're talking about and making sure that the data is coming in clean and it's clean and easy to understand. Abram's on there. And again, we'll get you connected to your person to make sure we've got that set up correctly for you. Again, but this goes to my point. If something's not working right, if it doesn't feel right, if something is just like, I'm not really sure about this, raise your hand, reach out to somebody because this is literally why we have jobs and what we're here for. We're here to help you make sure that you're using our solutions well.
Brooke doesn't
Great
bite.
question. Great question, Andrew. I do not. Again, I help people. I
She
tell
gets
people
angry every now and then. She gets angry
I'm
every now and
free.
then. I've seen
I
it.
do not. Nick, stop. I do free consulting at the booth all the time. Come up and tell me what problems you got. Let's see if we can figure it out. I always say if it's not me, I know a guy or a girl, I will walk you to the booth, to the software vendor, to the person, whoever it is that's going to be able to help you solve your problem. Because that is the one thing that I do not want. I do not want you to use a solution that you're not going to be able to fully use and get the most out of it because our time is so important to us and being able to again onboard and have our people use it and train everybody. So definitely leverage your vendors for that. We are about out of time, and I want to be super mindful of people's time. Again, we put the QR codes up there earlier. Um, I can also tell you that I dropped my email address in here. Nick's email address is in there as well. So reach out to either he or I. We are happy to help get you pointed in the right direction. It may not be he or I that can solve the problem, but we can make sure that we run things up the ladder here where we work at our various companies and get the attention that it needs to get. Thank you, Nick, so much for joining me today. It was super fun. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you getting up at early. So everybody that doesn't know, it's about 2 in the morning over in Australia the next day. So I told Nick I owe him one. So I'm gonna have to do a webinar on the Aussie time
Mm.
zone
There's
as
no
a
place I
payback.
would rather be, Brooke. No place I'd rather be. It's me. Nah. Who needs that?
Thank you for
Thanks,
everybody
Brooke.
for all the wonderful questions today. We appreciate it. And be on the lookout for our next webinar from Liongard. And everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the questions.